Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimist Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. And as you can see, I have a special guest expert with me today. Her name is Sunny McGaw. Welcome, Sunny.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And I see the sun flowing in through your back window, and you look all nice and sunny and ready to go. So let's get into this. And Sunny is a marketing and mindset coach for women entrepreneurs in their prime, formerly known as middle-aged. I like that.
Thanks.
Sunny's bio, let's take a look at some of the points here. Award-winning marketer for some of the world's biggest brands, including Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Starbucks, Toronto International Film Festival, GM, Ford, and Greenpeace. That's quite a repertoire. Congratulations on that. Sunny was promoted to creative director at age 41 when only 3% of CDs were women. Creative directors were women. She delivered her first TEDx talk, 9 months, 19 countries, and 69,000 kilometers at age 45. That's a lot of countries to cover. Founded,
Yes.
built, and exited a 7-figure business at 47. Wow, that's quite a rapid progress you made and depart. Founded Sunny McGaw Marketing at age 50 to empower women entrepreneurs. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, and I guess we'll talk about women and how that differs from men. But I like this whole idea of entrepreneurship and how to succeed as an entrepreneur. And of course, we'll focus a lot on women. Why did you choose? I mean, you obviously worked in a man's world, I could say, in those big corporations. But what drove you to want to coach and help develop women entrepreneurs?
Thanks, Stephen. That's a great question, and it's one I hear frequently, so it's worth addressing right off the bat. I love a good list. So I like to look at lists, top books, top podcasts, top thought leaders. And if you were to Google or search whatever search engine you use, any of those things, top 10 entrepreneurial thinkers of 2023, it would be a stretch if there's a woman on that list. Same books for entrepreneurs, podcasts for entrepreneurs, anything else, blogs for entrepreneurs. And I do think that it's a bit cliche, but if you can see it, you can be it. We know that there's a truth to that. We know that holds a lot of strength. And so I decided that I was going to focus on helping women entrepreneurs because there just isn't a lot of specific information just for women. And they do have unique challenges and they do have unique gifts. So at this time in my career, and that's why in my bio, I like to list when I did these things. So not just that I did a TED Talk and I founded a business, but I founded them in my prime. So after I turned 40, because that's the women that I specifically want to help.
Okay.
And I think part two to that question is I do think that knowing who your audience is, who you're helping very specifically is important. And I think niche. In America, they say niche, and there's a cute expression, the riches are in the niches. And I do believe that's true. Have a very narrow, specific audience, and you can help them so much more profoundly than if you have a broad audience. If you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So that is why I picked this wonderful group.
Now, you did mention that women entrepreneurs have some unique challenges. Maybe can you elaborate on that? What are those unique challenges that, well, I guess you were up against and that you see other women entrepreneurs facing that men may have or may not have to the same degree, let's say?
Great question. So I could start with funding. There was a recent study that came out in the past couple of months that talked about how much VC funding went towards women entrepreneurs versus men. And I believe it was less than 10%. So that's very significant in terms of money, in terms of data. Some of the other challenges is often the women I work with, so I'm going to speak in some generalities here, but often the women I work with have been stay-at-home moms for a certain amount of time. They typically, 9 times out of 10, had an education, got an education, worked for a little bit of time, saw their career have a great trajectory, because I work with ambitious women, and then they stopped because they had a family. And now their family is older, their kids are out of the house, or they don't need them as much. And so these women have an opportunity. They have time on their hands. They often have resources and money, and they have a vision. But they often have imposter syndrome is pretty huge when you've been managing a house, which doesn't seem like a job, but we all know it is. When you've been managing a house for a long time, stepping back into the world of like entrepreneurship, small business ownership is pretty big, and it can be really daunting and overwhelming, and they can have self-doubt, which might not seem like a big thing, but it can haunt them. So getting over that, getting into the mindset of success and believing in themselves is really key. It is really integral to their success.
Okay. And so mindset, overcoming what I call internal obstacles to succeed. Because like you said, you may have a vision and you could even outline a strategy and tactics, but the internal obstacles are often what holds back a lot of people, or an imbalance. So talk to me a little bit about those internal obstacles. I mean, you mentioned I guess, imposter syndrome, the self-doubt. How do you, but I see that with men as well, obviously. All
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs may go through that, especially as the going gets tougher. The tendency to want to just quit is there for everybody. How do you help your clients deal with these? First of all, identify what may be holding them back internally, this mindset,
Mm-hmm.
attitude, self-doubt, and what do you do to help them deal with that, address that, so it's no longer an issue in their path?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, and it's multifaceted. I have so in several years since I've been concentrating on entrepreneurship and specifically women, I've identified that there are usually 5 factors holding them back, and so I've come up with a framework, and it's called the You Slay framework. You is in the word you, and then SLAY. And usually the challenges that they are facing, that are really the big challenges keeping them up at night, fall under one of those categories. So I'll just go over them quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
U stands for belief in yourself. So if you don't believe in yourself, nothing else matters. And we know that that goes for everything in life, right? So I've got some tricks in there. One of the best ones I know, it's really powerful and it's really simple, is self-affirmations. So what do you believe about yourself to be true? And repeat it to yourself. Put it on a Post-it, put it on your computer, on your mirror, on your steering wheel, wherever you're going to see it frequently, and repeat it to yourself. Remind yourself how great you are. Brag letters. There's a lot of tricks and tips that you can use to build up and to remind yourself that you believe in yourself. So that's the you. The S for You Slay stands for your squad. Even if you're a solopreneur, even if you're an entrepreneur who works almost all the time on your own, you do need to have a team around you. We know that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I do have to remind people, it's not the people you like the most, it's not the people you admire the most, it's the people you spend the most time with. And that can be in person or that can be online. So I encourage people to curate that squad very carefully. Make sure you're surrounded by people who want to see you succeed. And that doesn't mean that they don't give you tough feedback or they don't critique your ideas. You want people who do that. You don't want to be surrounded by yes people, but you want to be surrounded by people who care about your success. So that's your squad. The You Slay L is to be laser focused on your goals. And this is one I see a lot, Stephen, and I don't know if you do too, but the because our world is so busy and noisy, there's the shiny object syndrome, right? I have an idea, but oh my goodness, maybe I should chase that one or that one or that one, and squirrel, as we say. So committing to your goal and staying laser focused on your goal. And again, I have a lot of tools in my tool belt to help fortify that. The A stands for action. So having a bias for action. Now, over the pandemic, I took a lot of courses, as I know many people did, and the best one I took by far was Seth Godin's Alt MBA. And one of the key findings from that was the the biggest thing that makes the biggest difference between those who succeed and those who don't succeed is having a bias for action. Because thoughts are a dime a dozen, ideas are a dime a dozen. It's taking action. It's taking fairly quick action that makes the biggest difference. There are so many unfinished manuscripts in drawers, right? People who just didn't simply get it done and didn't share it with the world. And the last one is why. You slay is why, and that is for your expectations. I encourage everyone to set high expectations. You may know Jim Collins' expression, BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. I love
Right.
that. So make sure your goal, make sure your expectation is high. And that doesn't mean you don't take small steps, but if you have a mediocre goal, where's the fun in that? Where's the magic in that? So you make sure that you have a high goal, a high expectation for yourself and your business, and that's what's going to keep you going when the going gets tough. So those are the 5 frameworks for success and overcoming the most common problems I see in women entrepreneurs.
I think that's a fantastic framework that you could uh, really use to accompany your clients through the whole process towards their vision or their success. Uh, what happens, not everybody is capable or has the inner drive required, perhaps, to take the actions that they need to take. How do you deal with different personality types? Because, some people are very action oriented. They actually act before they think, and others like need to ponder and strategize and maybe overdo that. And then they never act enough. So, just people's personality traits that are ingrained and drive certain tendencies. How do you deal with that? Because I found that uh, to be challenging for any entrepreneur, whether it's male or female, is getting them to understand those personality traits that are ingrained and drive certain tendencies. And I'm curious to
Mhm.
understand how you deal with that, because obviously you must deal with all types of people, even though they're mostly female or all female. Nobody is the same. Everybody's different. So talk to me about that part.
Well, I must say, I do a pretty serious vetting myself
Yeah.
because I want to have a successful and symbiotic relationship. I want my clients to succeed unbelievably. So I only work with people who are quite ambitious.
Okay.
And that might not be for everybody. I know I'm not for everybody and everybody's not for me, but if you're ambitious and I am not going to have to drag you along, then you're for me and I can help you and we will make magic together. But I don't work with people who sit on the fence or aren't sure that they really want to succeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those that have you identify have that inner drive and are willing to take the actions needed to achieve those big audacious goals, as you put it,
Yes. Yes.
is what you're looking for. Because otherwise, everybody fails. Nobody wins. You could only win if everybody's, uh, you know, committed
Yes.
to the process. Um,
Hmm.
and that's really important.
And
Um,
there's a selfishness in me that says I want my clients, I want people I work with to have an unbelievable success rate because that helps me.
yeah,
So it, it,
sure.
it really is a win-win. So by me vetting people, I think I'm doing them a service because if I was working with somebody that I didn't think was going to do well, that's not helpful. That's not nice. They don't need that from me. Um, so that's part of it. And then one other, it just kind of tweaked an idea in something you just asked me, Stephen, which um, one tactic I use to keep people going is inspired by Warren Buffett. Have you heard of his 5 or 25 rule? for goals?
I might have, but I don't recall
Oh
this
yes, I'm
one.
sure he's so prolific with ideas, but this is one that I really, really like. So once someone's established a goal, I say, okay, there's a process I want you to go through. Got your goal. I want you to sit down and I want you to write out 25 steps that are going to help you get towards that goal, big and small, whichever they are. That's step one. Step two is to prioritize those. Now there's some guessing here. You're guessing what's going to move the needle the most. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way down to 25, which would be something that's not likely to move the needle much. Then you take that list of 25, you take the top 3 items and put them over here in a pile. You take the bottom 22 and you throw them away and never look at them and never think about them again until you've achieved those top 3. And once I have a commitment from a client that that is what we're going to do, any sort of tendency or temptation to go and look at those other 22, we're not going to do that. We've agreed that this is the 3 we're going to concentrate on for now. And that really mitigates a lot of that, as I said, the shiny object syndrome,
So it's that laser focus that you referred
the
to.
laser focus. You got it.
And what I found is that when you narrow down your goal, when you're clear on your goal and you narrow down the key action steps that you need to take and you focus on those, they become like sub goals. And then all the other goals just get taken care of in the process because you're really going after those must achieve or big audacious goals. Do you find that too?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. They're not in isolation, right? They overlap and you are working towards one big goal. So yes, they're going to drive each other. I like that. I like how you said that.
So you're helping people go through their mindset issues, their confidence, um, their belief in themselves. What about the marketing part? Like, as you're working through that with your clients, how do you guide them on the marketing part to keep them or to help provide the advice of what they need to do? Is that something that they need a lot of expertise in, or is it something that comes more natural to them? And the hard part is just the mindset part.
Uh, well, as I mentioned before we started recording, I started um, this business and this next journey in my life thinking that I was going to be concentrating on marketing,
Right,
marketing for women entrepreneurs.
right,
And then when I started getting into it, I thought, okay, well, they do need help with marketing, but my goodness, mindset is a bigger hurdle than the marketing question. So and that's why I like the idea of skill stacking. So these are my 2 big skills that I have to offer, marketing and mindset, that they go together. So it depends on the individual, but I do believe that most people need help with marketing, especially people who have a great product or service. They often are very passionate about that product or service, but they don't necessarily know how to get it out into the world. And so I focus on organic marketing. So that's the kind of marketing where you're not paying for it. So it's not advertising on Facebook or putting ads on the radio or in
right.
newspapers or any of those old school things. It's really focusing on SEO, on website, and on social media, as well as some other things like being on podcasts. What a great way to spread the word if you're so inclined. But there's so many opportunities now with social media. And so depending on the comfort level of the client, I might say if you're comfortable to make short form videos, that's a great place to start. Start on Instagram with Reels, start on TikTok with TikTok. If you're more comfortable with writing long blog posts, perhaps you want to go on LinkedIn. And it also depends on their product or service, of course, where, I like to say fish where the fish are. So if you're whatever you're selling and who you're selling to, where are they online? Start there. But I
Right.
also think it's fun to um, go someplace unexpected. So an example I love is this woman called Miss Excel, and she actually teaches people how to do well with Excel on TikTok. Now, how unexpected is that? That is so unusual. And what a
The
juxtaposition.
Excel, the software program?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
really? Okay.
And she teaches it on TikTok. And she's not
No
doing
kidding.
dances or anything goofy like that. She's just doing short clips. But when you're in such an unexpected place, you really have an opportunity to make waves. And that's what she's done. She's been really unexpected. So that's what I kind of guide my clients to do in marketing is to to go where your clients are and do what's expected, but also to step outside of your comfort zone. Because we know that with everything in life, and certainly with marketing, getting outside of your comfort zone is where really interesting things can happen. And
So let's talk about Miss or Madam Excel for a minute.
okay, Miss Excel, yes.
So
She's
she's
not
out
my
there.
client. She's just somebody
Oh,
I admire. Yes, but
okay.
she's
So
fantastic.
somebody you admire, she got your attention on short form videos on
Yes.
TikTok, or YouTube has them now, Facebook. How does she turn that into a business? That's the question. I mean, you could build up a lot of followers, but then how do you make money from that? Because you're not making money from the ads that run on your short reels. You have to have a business behind that. So people that are she's selling to consumers, maybe some businesses will hire her to train their staff or whatever. Do you know how her business model works, or?
Unfortunately, I don't know how she
Okay.
in particular has monetized her business, but I do know that I do suspect she's got influencer status. I've read about her in multiple publications because other people noticed what I noticed. It said, hey, this woman is making some really interesting moves in an unusual space. So there, when you get that kind of level of publicity, I would think that that's funneling into her website and getting her clients.
Right.
And I would also imagine she does one-on-one coaching, group coaching. She has some online courses that she's monetized. She has some freebies.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that she's doing something along those lines because that's certainly what I'd advise her to do.
So let's go back for a minute just to talking about women entrepreneurs. And how do you see the evolution and where things are at today from perhaps when you entered the workforce as a woman, working for these companies, large corporations? Um, how do you see things have evolved, and what still needs to happen for that equality, for women to be recognized as equal to men in their capability?
Well, I think we're aiming higher than being equal to men.
Of course.
I'm just kidding. Just teasing.
I-
Um, just yanking your chain. Um, I, anyhow, a great example of the evolution, and I absolutely love this, is more, it's a little bit broader, it's societal. Um, a generation ago, a TV show was very famous, very well known, and it was the Golden Girls.
Oh yeah.
Can you remember that?
Sure.
The four women who lived together in Florida.
Yeah.
Now, those women were B. Arthur and Betty White, etc. Blue haired, curly hair. They wore cardigans. They were old. They were in their early 50s. Now, think about Sex and the City, the reboot. Those women are also in their early 50s. So that is how media, society, culture has evolved their view of women in their early 50s in one generation. And I think that is remarkable. And I just love that example. I think we're absolutely headed in the right direction of seeing women in their early 50s as empowered and interesting and have so much to offer and sexy, quite frankly. So that's a great example. What do I think needs to happen? Well, as you read in my bio, when I became a creative director in my early 40s, there were only 3% of creative directors in North America were women.
Right.
Now I believe the number is 11. So we're heading in the right direction, but still it's quite low.
Hmm.
And we also know that in the States, just last month, I believe, there used to be more CEOs named John than all female CEOs put together up until last month. So again, we're headed in the right direction, but more needs to happen.
And why is it that way, do you think? Is it just a culture that's come from way back at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, when men were powerful and stayed that way, and slowly recognizing that women are their equals, or can even do better jobs? I mean, one thing that I remarked, we have all these forest fires here in Quebec,
Yes.
and I've been noticing that a lot of these small towns, and even Montreal, the city that I'm in, the mayors are women. And
Oh,
even there's one town called Calais, I think it's Calais, very small town. The mayor, I think she's only 22 years old or something. And
wow.
yeah, and she said, well, nobody else wanted the job, so I took it. But you have to be on the ball to be a mayor of a town, of a municipality, and especially in these times, with these forest fires, you need to make really crucial decisions, and be able to collaborate, build a tribe or build collaborators that respect you. So a lot has changed in that regard. But why do you think women still have such a hard time? Why do you think it's still so much a male-dominated world in the workplace?
Oh, how much time do you have?
In
No, I think
a
it's,
nutshell.
yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, it's a long-standing problem, but I do have to say something important right now, which is that I don't spend too much time looking backwards. I I haven't spent a lot of time looking backwards and saying, why is it this way? Because it's something that makes me angry, right? Something makes me frustrated.
Okay.
And one of my superpowers in life is I'm optimistic. I was raised by two of the most professionally optimistic people on the planet, and my positivity is my superpower, is one of my superpowers. And I really just keep trying to look forward. I have two sons and a daughter, and teaching them and helping them understand, and then working with the people I work with and the communities I work with towards a better future versus saying, well, why are we here and this is frustrating and I'm angry, because it's a very slippery slope and easy trap to fall into for me anyhow. And so that's not where I spend my time. So I spend my time thinking towards the future, and sometimes it's macro and sometimes it's micro, but trying to make things better for the generations that are to come.
And I'm sure that's what makes you a great coach, because you can help people focus on what they need to do, not what happened to them that caused them to feel the way they do about themselves or about their situation. Because you're right, looking back can spawn some negative emotions and anger, and that's not helping your energy to move forward as an entrepreneur. You have to keep going. And one of the things I'm watching, it's a male documentary, is Arnold Schwarzenegger, about how the three phases in his life, from becoming a bodybuilder, winning the championships of the world, to becoming an actor, and to becoming a politician. And it's a very inspiring series, and he's got a tremendous, he talks a lot about vision and about just
Mm.
keeping moving forward. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it's a great example for anyone to watch and learn from. It definitely inspired me. So that just reminded me
Yeah.
what you just said about that.
And
Um,
sorry, if you don't mind me saying, I heard him interviewed by Tim Ferriss, the
okay.
wonderful podcast guru, years ago, and it really inspired me as well too. Because I don't know if you came across the part where he talks about his childhood, and in Austria he was the youngest,
Yes.
and they were quite poor, so he got the dirtiest bathwater.
Oh, I
The
didn't hear
dad, the
that.
mom, all the kids bathed, and then poor Arnold got the little dirty bathwater. But it was illuminating, right? Because we think
Yeah.
about Arnold and he's so wonderful, but
Yeah.
he had a really tough upbringing. But
Yeah.
there's no victim mentality there,
No, not at
right?
all.
And that's to your point about, like, where do you want your energy to go?
Yeah.
I want to focus on positivity, and like you said about Arnold focusing on vision and what's next. That's the good stuff.
So, Sunny, you just, I just want to go over once more the USLAY acronym, so people can hear it again and perhaps inspire some action on their part. Maybe they'll want to visit your website. And by the way, do you have some free offerings or on your website that people can, free resources, I should say?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
So you can visit my website. It's thesunnymcgaw.com. And I have some freebies. I have some freebies about making great first impressions on for yourself, for your website. So both the mindset and the marketing pieces. I also have a course, and I'll send you the course code to offer 50% off, which is a course on content creation, doing fast, amazing content creation with confidence, because so many people struggle with that. I can also be reached at the Sunny McGaw on Instagram and Sunny McGaw at LinkedIn. Those are my places I'm most active. And as far as you slay, it's believe in yourself, have a squad that wants to see you succeed, be laser focused on your goals, have a bias for action, and set your expectations very high.
Fantastic. Great way to end our conversation. And send me those links, and I'm going to put it in the description of the video and the podcast. This will go out both as a video and as a podcast. And I guess the last question I have, was there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, that you'd like to bring up and answer as a question?
No, I think this was really thorough and wonderful, and I thank you for this opportunity. It was a real joy to meet you, Stephen.
Likewise. Well, thank you for being my guest. I learned a lot. You know, if I was a woman, I would definitely want to hire you, but I don't qualify. I'm not in my 40s or early 50s anymore. But I'm still an entrepreneur at heart. You know, I grew up as in an entrepreneur family. My dad was an entrepreneur and started teaching me business and work at a very, very young age. And that drove a lot of inspiration and habits and lessons. So I understand really what you're talking about. I want to thank you again for being my guest, and I look forward to future conversations. For those who may be new to the channel, please subscribe, turn on notifications to get news of new videos. And thank you all for listening. Thank you again, Sunny, and we'll talk soon.